guys, what's up and welcome to another episode of the Goodcast Show. Today is definitely a special one. I remember seeing my guest way back when I was a little boy in secondary school. He is a Malaysian orthopedic surgeon, and get this, he's the first Malaysian to go into space. Now, since coming back down to Earth, he's kept himself very busy. He's an author. His book, My Way of Parenting, achieved over 70,000 copies pre-order sales within 7 days of its launch. He's a very successful entrepreneur. He's a pride of our nation and an inspiration to many Malaysians. He's none other than Dato Dr. Sheikh Muszaphar Shukor. How are you, Dato?
Hi, Vinod. Thank you for the introduction.
Yeah. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
Very surreal moment. A lot of people were very shocked that you're coming on my podcast. So big shout out to Prof. Tajuddin there as well for making the connection. Now, Dato, you are very passionate about education.
I do.
You are very passionate about parenting as well.
I do.
You talk a lot about it. I saw a speech you did in UKM, I think in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, talking about STEM. So today's discussion, I wanted to get your idea on education and STEM because the country is facing some problems there. So we'll start off with this to paint some context. How important is STEM education to the progress of our country?
Very important, Vinod. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me here.
Definitely.
STEM is my life. I think it's very important for us to produce more STEM-based students. STEM will produce doctors, scientists, engineers. Nowadays, we don't call it STEM anymore. We have changed it into STEAM. We add the arts together. So science, technology, engineering, maths, and arts at the same time. And I'm a doctor myself, my wife's a doctor, and it's natural for us wanting all our 7 kids to become doctors. And I always feel that STEM is everything in a person. It will make a country become a developed nation, to become a higher earning society. This is what we want, this is what we're looking at. But at the moment, we have so many hiccups going on. We targeted about 60 to 40 on science to arts in our students. But since the pandemic, there has been a decline tremendously to, I think it's less than 20% of our students who are interested to take science or STEM as their field.
Yeah, definitely. It is. And apparently now we're having a shortage of engineers as well, which is quite worrying.
Short of engineers, short of doctors, short of scientists, everything. And it's
happening?
really scary, yeah. Nowadays, I think social media is playing a big role. Most of our young generation, which are the alpha generations, they want fast money, right? They want to earn money fast, so everything. They want to become influencer, they want to become Grab riders and so on. But these are the things that the government should look into in a big way.
Now, just on that part, because interesting you mentioned that there was also a video clip done by another YouTube channel. They were talking about how students prefer being influencers as opposed to STEM. So is it fair to blame the students? Because you are a parent as well. I'm a parent as well. Is it our fault because we gave the handphone to our kids at a very young age that made them, susceptible to all this?
You know what? As I'm talking about parenting a little bit. We give our phones, gadgets to our kids because we want to make our life easier, right? We give even to a 1-year-old child a gadget so that we can do our cooking, washing, and so on. So once they develop this addiction, the parents start coming to me and say, what do I do? What do I do? They are very addicted. So it's very hard to turn back whatever we have done. And talking about students, you're right. We always blame the students. Why are the students lazy? Why are the students not wanting to take subject sciences and so on? We cannot blame the students. It's totally unfair because it involves a large group of people who are supposed to guide these students from a very young age. We're talking about not just students, but parents and teachers. They need to play a big role in changing the mindset of our students to become better.
Now, interesting you talk about teachers. In fact, right before you came to the studio, I was watching this video of a classroom where the students, there was a teacher in front and the students were dancing to this current famous song by that girl from Blackpink.
Apata.
Yes, Apata.
You must follow trend, right? Trend, yeah.
Yes. And I was just shocked at it because I cannot imagine such a scene happening when I was in school. When we were in school, teachers walk in the classroom, we are all like, going back to our table, scared of teachers. Right? Now they are dancing apata in a classroom. Do you think that the education system has failed? Teachers have failed as well.
I think when we speak about how creative these teachers are, I totally adore them. Especially teachers from Sabah and Sarawak, their lack of facilities, for example, they do not have the facilities or even a science lab to teach the students on science. So they're very creative on dancing, teaching in a very fun manner. This is what we should do. I always blame the teachers. I do not like physics when I was in my secondary school. Why? Because my physics teacher wasn't very entertaining. I love chemistry. My chemistry teacher was the best. He made us do so many experiments and so on. So teachers play a big role on influencing a student on which major they wanted to go into science especially. And they don't teach in a very interesting way. Yeah, it's always the book, they read it out and students have just to listen. But even though the teachers have a big role in influencing the students, you cannot blame the teachers at the same time, because not only they are short of teachers, short of hands to take care of them, but their numbers are just too much work are being given to them. Too much admin work. They have to do this. One teacher have to take care of about 45 to 50 students in a classroom, which is I feel totally unfair if we blame the teachers. So it's very hard to blame who has to be blamed, but I feel that everyone has to play a role.
Understood. Now, Dato, one thing about
please call me doctor, please. Dr. Sheikh is fine. Dr. feels old,
okay,
yeah.
Doctor. Or bro Sheikh.
Bro, yeah, sounds good, yeah.
So, Doctor, you said that, of course, we all know that when you went to space, you had to go through a selection process.
16 years ago, yeah. You were probably in your secondary school,
yes.
yeah.
And basically, you were, if I'm not mistaken, the number was 13,000.
From 13,000 candidates?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, if we look at that kind of selection process, do you think that sort of fits? You were selected from that crop. Do you think that the modern day education system actually prepares our students to reach a level where they can compete with people from different countries?
Well, definitely no. Our students currently are not ready. But let me say that I wanted to go to space from a very young age, since I was 6 years old. I always knew that I love science. I wanted to explore what's beyond out there. But who would have thought Malaysia would have gone to space? So I decided to become a doctor because I love science so much. My dad has raised me into loving science. To become an astronaut, you need to be the best in physical, psychological, and mental health. These are the main keywords. And talking about our students, are our students ready physically, mentally, psychologically, based on our education system at the moment? No, they are not ready. Many of the students are lack on their understanding fluency in English, for example. Yeah. They don't have what it takes to work in big companies. They just don't have the attitudes. Not all of them. Some are really good, yeah, but majority of the students, because we do not stress upon these qualities on becoming a successful person, which is hard work, charisma, working as a team, being positive at all times, and adab. What do you call adab in English? Your
mannerisms.
Your mannerism. I think this is a very important key. We should be highlighted because nowadays our generations memang kurang adab, kurang sangat adab. They need to be taught about respecting the elder, for example, and things like that.
Just one point there, because initially you talked about how everybody wants to make money fast.
Yeah.
So when I compare myself, because in the past I have hired interns, right? And when I was a student, there were some internships I did that was free because I wanted to learn.
And you still did it.
Did it because I wanted to learn. I wanted the experience because it looks good on my resume, right?
True.
When I go out there.
True.
Nowadays, when I interview interns, they actually compare the amount of salary they're getting. They don't think about what skills they can learn. They don't do that.
True.
How do we change this? Because that's not right.
It's hard to change the mindset because they're already 17, 18 years old. And I always believe that to change the mindset of a person, you need to start from scratch, from when they are 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, for example. You can't change the mindset of the older generations. These things, you're right. The interns, they just want money fast. They are not looking at wanting to get experience. To them, experience is not important.
Yes,
but I don't blame them because there are lots of factors going on, like the socioeconomic status at the moment. Life is very hard at the moment, and people need money to survive.
Definitely.
Yeah, prices are going up and so on. That's the thing. We need to instill all these qualities in our students.
Definitely. Now, again, coming back to STEM for a bit, I think, we have sort of come full circle in the sense that during the advent of the Industrial Revolution, they created education in a way to create certified professionals and working people to facilitate these industries that were burgeoning then. Now, it seems like what we discussed earlier, that we are having shortages of engineers, and you mentioned doctors and all that.
Yeah.
And as you rightfully mentioned, I think the number is that in last year, 15.2% of students opted for the science stream.
Wow.
Now, I remember when I was in school, again, I don't want to sound old or comparing, my time was better and saying all that nonsense, but getting into science stream was the focus, right? Your parents wanted you to get into science stream, right? Now they're shying away. Why are they shying away?
Even though we are shortage of doctors, even though it's only 15.2% wanting to go into science, but we still have a big volume of people who wants to become doctors, which is not enough. I'm talking about scholarships because it's very expensive, and most of them cannot sponsor on their own. Even the allocation which I provide to doctors to Malaysians is just too little. So even though we don't have enough doctors, but the allocation is less. So these are the things that the government should look into. You want to encourage people to become more doctors, scientists, engineers. You need a lot of money. You need to invest in them. You need to send them scholarship to other countries, or even Malaysia. We have lots of universities, private universities, but it's very, very costly. So these are the things that we need to look at. But also, we, as Malaysians, we cannot rely on the government. Right? We have to find a way to do our own education system because we just don't have the money. So these are the things, many things are involved actually, and it's very hard to pinpoint what is the problem.
Yeah.
We need to change the education system holistically. It's been a concern to our parents and students out there, especially right now we are talking about major examinations, for example, UPSR and PMR. Do we continue? Do we stop? These are the things that we need to discuss too.
Definitely. Now, speaking of that, one point in a Channel News Asia documentary that was sort of pointed at as could be the reason why students are not interested in STEM is because there is an over-focus in primary school towards religion. So apparently about 16% of the total periods that a student goes through in a week, I'm talking specifically for public schools, goes to teaching Islam. Right, religion. So what they say the problem with that is that it sort of creates two problems. Number one is by comparison, only 7% of the time that a student spends in a week in school goes to maths.
Okay.
All right. So that in itself sort of makes it seem as though maths and science are secondary subjects. I'm not saying that they are not as important or more important, but shouldn't we even out the timings that we spend on each subject?
True, but I don't think religion is an issue here. I'm not sure of the timings or how much times that they spend in a month. But if you are telling me that they are spending more on maths and science,
no, less in maths and science, more in Islamic teaching.
Yeah, but that shouldn't be happening, right? That shouldn't be. I think that's definitely one of the major reasons why people not liking the subject. If that is true, yes, we definitely have to change the time spent on maths and science. I agree.
Now, you are also a person who has your own school and all that, preschool and all that. Now, I'm just curious on your opinion because this has been a topic of contention in a while. In Malaysia, we have the public school system, we have vernacular schools, we have private schools, we have international schools.
Yeah.
Do you think we should unify all under one national system?
We should, but it's not good. It won't happen.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel that every school have their own advantage. Like for vernacular school, for SJKC, for example, like my children, they go to SJKC Chinese schools. Why? Because I want them to be fluent in Chinese, in Mandarin, and they mix with a different group of people. When you go to the private schools, for example, it's more for the rich. They spend a lot of time with lots of different groups of societies, different expectations, and our government schools, majority of them are Malays. So every schools have their advantage. To unite these schools would be the best, ideally, because we're talking about nationalism and so on. But I do not think that will work.
That will ever happen, right? It's a dream.
Never say no, right?
Never say never. Yeah. Now, I want to get into this because where do we point our fingers to? Whom do we? Because in this situation, you have four key stakeholders. You have politics, the parents, teachers, and students, right? These are the four stakeholders in education. Now, if we are saying that, if by the numbers we are saying that students are not finding STEM attractive, who of these stakeholders carry most of the blame?
Okay, all of them play a major role.
Yeah, definitely.
All of them have to be blamed. But teachers are the most important, right?
Okay.
Because teachers spend a lot of time with the students. They are the one who will shape the mind of the students while they're in school, which we're talking about how many hours, 6-7 hours at a single time. But for me, parents plays one of the biggest role out there because everything should start from a very young age. Parents who have very high expectation on their children will produce more successful children. Okay, it's okay for the child to be high expectation. We want you to become doctor. Study hard, study hard, study. I always believe in pushing the child to its maximum potential, and parents need to guide them from they were born. For example, introduce them to science, buy them telescopes, and buy them books to read. We cannot rely fully on teachers. When you talk about our major examination, UPSR and PMR, for example, there are two kinds of parents. One who is for it and one who is against it. Those parents who wants to maintain the UPSR and PMR is because they do not know where their children stands because there's no exams, right? So they want an exam back. They give fully their children to the school because they are busy. They work from going in the very morning, come in the evening, so they don't have time for their children. But people like me who are for the not having a PMR and UPSR.
Oh, you're for not having?
I am for not having.
Okay, interesting.
Because to me, I can see how stressed they are when they have exams, major exams at school. They have to study. I'm thinking about their mental health. People like us, we do not want this major exam because we find the time to teach our children. We teach them at home. We don't rely fully at schools. When they come back, we teach them. We feel that their mental health plays a big role. So these are the things why some majority are against not having these major examinations. So you really have to look into the holistic area. The government are trying to come up with a holistic approach on education, meaning not relying on subject exams, not just books, but more on being a complete child, a student, for example. So this is what we should looking at, not just exams, but treat them, see them, involved in many curriculum and so on.
Definitely. But that also brings an interesting point because we are now talking about the role of the parent, right?
Yeah.
And you sort of mentioned it in passing where you talk about telescopes, which your father bought a telescope for you, which sort of enabled your interest in science as well, promoted. You're right in parents. I also agree, parents must play a key role. But just to play devil's advocate to what you said, if we do not have examinations, how do we then assess a child's absorption of what they are learning?
That's true. That's the main reason why the parents are worried because where do my children stand, right? I agree, but I think the school has to have exams maybe every 3 months and so on, so that they will know where they stand. So that once they know your child is slacking, they can focus more on it. There should be lots of interaction between parents and teachers, where the parents can tell or explain to the parents how their students are and children are. This is what we should do every 3 months exam so that we know where they stand. But just to have a major examination to go into a boarding school, I think that will put a very much pressure on the student itself.
This has been a topic that's talked about a lot, mental health of students.
Mental health,
right?
Yes.
Now, when I compare, I don't see much difference in the sense of the volume that we have to study. I remember, I think when I was in school as well, we studied a lot. I remember, and we had I had parents who were, I want you to become this, become that. I became a podcaster, so big letdown there.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, are we being too soft on our kids? But because, like you, Dato, Doctor, in the real world, there is not going to be a parent there to protect you, right? Life is tough. Are we not preparing them for that eventuality by being too kind to them, sort of?
Well, every family have a different personality of their children. There's no correct parenting, right?
Correct.
Sometimes we teach them the best way that we think is possibly could, but they turn out differently.
Yeah.
So it's a very subjective topic to discuss about parenting. But if you ask me personally, you have to be strict on your kids. They have to know what's their ambition from a very young age. Like for me, my kids are all going to become doctors, inshallah. I mean. So what we do is the power of visualization, we tell them to write on the walls, I want to become a doctor, I want to become a doctor, paste it on their bed.
Nice.
Every time when they wake up, I want to become a doctor. Before they sleep, they shout it out loud. So this is called the power of visualization so that they will reach their aim later. I believe on pushing the child, bring out their true potential and so on. I do have to say that many parents out there criticize my way of parenting, saying that let them be kids, let them enjoy, let them have fun. But every second is a learning process. The first 6 years, the brain grows up to 90% like an adult brain. So this is a time where you really have to push your child, make them read a lot, take a foreign language, for example, everything absorbs like a sponge.
Oh, really? The first 6 years?
The first 6 years is
Okay.
very, very critical. So we shouldn't take things for granted. To become the best, they need to compete, to have that drive to succeed in life. So this is my way of parenting. But to me, as long as a child enjoys what they are doing, they don't take it as a burden. My kids are busy from morning till night.
Okay.
Swimming, violin, morning Chinese school, in the evening Islamic school. Then they have maths, science. Then we do teach them another hour every night before they go to bed.
My goodness.
Children loves routine.
Yeah.
They don't get tired. They never get tired unless they don't like something. So always find a way where when you teach your child in a very fun and exciting manner, so they don't take it as a burden.
Okay, I'm very curious, and I'm going to be a bit selfish because I'm a parent too. My eldest is only 2.
Okay. How many children do you have?
2.
Two children.
Yeah.
Okay.
The youngest is about 5 months now.
Okay.
So like, if you say that the first 6 years are very important, I've heard this. The first 6 years, 6-7 years is very important. What did you do so that I can copy you? What did you do in your parenting style in that first 6 years?
Okay. For me, we started everything even from before they were born.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the thing, Vinod. Yeah, to become a parent, before having a child, you need to be knowledgeable. We need to know how to raise our children. Both husband and wife need to be synchronized, having the same goal. If one parent said no, always you have to follow her too, right? Because a child, they are very smart. If the mommy says no, they will come to the daddy and they will say, I want, and the daddy will give in, and then things will be chaos. So it has to be the same decision making all the time. So for me, by 6 years, they must, by 3 years, they must be able to start to read. Yeah. They must take one martial arts. My children are black belt taekwondo by the time they are 8. They must take an instrument. They must khatam Al-Quran by the age of 6 years old, for example. They must know maths equation, plus, minus, times, and division by the time they are 5 years old. So these are some of the targets that you need to put into so that you can look into it and direct your way into that vision or their goal. So now my kids, the eldest is 13 years old. She's in Permata Pinta, UKM, which is for a gifted genius school in UKM. The second is 11 years old. They're all black belt taekwondo. Even the 7 years old are the black belt. And they are into violin and piano. And also they are swimmers representing Kuala Lumpur and so on. So many things is going on. I think many parents are doing the same thing that what I'm doing.
Okay.
But I always say that every parenting is different. You need to understand the personality of your children on how you raise them. But the module is the same for all of them. So for me, I have 7 kids. The modules are all the same. They are all going through the same way how I raise them to become the best, hopefully.
Now, so when was the earliest that you enrolled them into, say, martial arts?
They go when everything begins at 4.
Oh, 4 years old.
Yeah, because when they are 4, they understand instructions. They are big enough to do all these activities and so on. But before the 4 years old, you have to do. The parents have to get involved teaching them. For me, like swimming, we teach them. We have to go into the pool with them. As long as they are comfortable in the water, they can jump, they splash. So when they start at 4 years old, everything goes smoothly. The problem is that when they start suddenly at 4, then they are chaotic. They don't know what to do. Yeah.
Interesting. One question I have, which is quite relevant to me, and I think a lot of people as well. I'm sorry, I'm being very selfish now.
No problem.
We'll go back to the standard programming in a while. This is advertisement. But as a parent, one thing that I struggle with is, so like you, I would assume. I mean, I'm also very involved in my children's life. You know, I'm always out with them. I try to spend as much time as I can with them. But how do you juggle work with parenting?
That's a tough one because many parents out there, they work from morning coming back at night. It's very hard. For us, we need to sacrifice either the wife or the husband or both of them. Like for us, when they come back from school in the afternoon, one of us will rush back to make sure that we prepare them lunch or dress them or change their schools and so on. So to me, time is a lot there. There's 24 hours in a day, right? Many people say, I don't have the time. I don't have the time.
Yeah.
You need to spend at least 2 to 3 hours with your kids every day to have a positive effect on the child. For me, if you don't have the time, find time early in the morning, wake them up, shower them, bathe them if they're still small. Having dinner with them is very important. This is where you can communicate with them, and also putting them to sleep. Bedtime stories is very key. It's not the length of time, it's more of the quality, what you are doing. Like for me, 7 kids, I usually take one-on-one. I will take one and spend more time with one person, right? Because if you bring all 7 at the same time, you cannot really give them quality
7,
time
my goodness,
to
how
each
do you
one of
juggle?
them. Yeah. But time is there. You just need to do everything fast, in a fast manner, talk everything fast so that you can do many things at once.
Okay, my goodness, it's interesting. Now, when I have to ask you this as well.
Yeah.
Like when I go out in public sometimes, and I see parents on their gadgets
Gadgets.
with their child there, right?
I know, yeah.
And I've seen some very sad moments where you see like parents on their gadgets. They're watching a series, even some of them, and the child is just looking around aimlessly, right?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, and this I'm very thankful to my parents, because every lunch or dinner was a conversation. We were always talking and fighting on table, so it was very fun.
Yeah.
I think I owe that a lot to where I am today. What do you say to parents like that?
The thing is, the parents doesn't want the kids to be addicted to gadgets, right?
Yeah.
But they themselves are doing it. You must walk the talk. You must do. If you don't want your kids to have gadgets, then you yourself not show them gadgets. Like for us, we go to the bathroom to do our gadget, whatever work that we have to do. I've never believed in gadgets because I feel that gadgets have more cons than pros. It's definitely a no-no to our kids. But once they achieve responsibility, usually when they are about 10 or 11 years old, when they know about responsibility, when they know about discipline, which is very difficult. Because normally they say, okay, it's okay, I will do for half an hour. They end up in their room. They are doing things quietly, sneaking here and there. So gadgets are definitely worse impact on our children compared to have benefits. And parents out there, if you don't want your kids to be addicted and being influenced by gadgets, you yourself should not be showing or playing gadgets in front of them.
Do you believe in spare the rod, spoil the child?
Pardon?
Do you believe in the saying, spare the rod, you spoil the child? That means if you don't beat them, you spoil them.
Well, we never beat our children. We always believe in communicating. I always feel that communication is the key, with lots of hugs and kisses. When your children do something wrong, understand them, don't ignore them, talk to them, go to a knee level and talk them eye to eye, which is very, very important. I always hug, create that love ambience in the family, because love can overcome everything.
Yeah, definitely. It's been nice. I think we should do one more episode just on parenting. I love it. I love it. So, can we get all this advice in your book? Because I'm sorry, I've not read your book. But
we should have brought our book. My way of parenting. So it's actually out of stock, but I'll get you one. Yeah.
Please.
This book will tell you everything how I raise my kids.
Okay.
But that's why it's called My Way of Parenting, because this is my way.
Yeah.
But to parents out there who feel it's good, take it, right? Use it. Because not many can accept how we raise our kids.
But I think, and I'm just thinking the future here, because I've always felt that I think today's world, you need to be more like what you're doing, because there's so many distractions nowadays. When we were kids, there was no smartphone. There was just there was nothing.
True. But we know actually these gadgets, this social media is a very good thing if you look at it a very positive way. Our kids can just get info very fast, very easily, but it may be a false
Definitely.
text, right?
There's a lot of
There's
issues.
pros and cons. I think you need to teach your children basics of being honest, being positive, and where you can rely on your child, not being afraid they might do something wrong. So these are very important for the basics values to be taught from a very young age for the first 6 years. Teach them for Muslims, we teach them to pray, salat, be good to others, responsible, discipline. These are the keys. So that when they leave to boarding school, which I plan to send all my kids to boarding school, they already know where they stand. They already know what to do. They have a strong bonding with the parents so that they don't get influenced by other students.
Exactly.
Which is a very scary thing.
Yeah.
So that they can always come to you and have a shoulder to cry on and to rely to you like a friend. This is important.
I mean, you talk about your father. How important was he in your life?
My father was, to me, I have 5 brothers. He raised me up like in a very competitive manner. Always wanting to become the best. I hate to lose. I can never lose. I can never take losses. Whenever I lose to my brothers, my elder brother, I make sure the next day I will win, whether it's in sports or anything. I owe a lot to my dad. When I joined the Angkasawan program, when he was in the final 100, he was so sure it was me. He was telling everyone, my son going to become the astronaut, my son going to become astronaut. So the expectation is really great. The bar is really up there. But for a child, you need to accept, you need to embrace, you need to understand the expectation and try to overcome it. Many parents out there do not want to give high expectation to their kids. They let their kids choose. Nak jadi apa, nak jadi apa. Let them choose themselves. But kids do not know what their ambition is. They watch movies, TVs, they want to become bomber, askar, police, because this is what they like. They like to shoot people and things like that. But our children needs guidance because they are very young. For me, I want them all to become doctors. But once they are 18, when they tell me, Daddy, I do not want to become doctor, it's okay. We have done our best, okay? We have showed them the pathway which we think is the best pathway for our kids. But we may be wrong. But if they want to become other fields, it's okay. What at the end, what's important is their happiness.
Okay.
We do our best as a father.
But that's interesting though, because you talk about selecting. You're basically selected your future, their future for
Kind
them,
of.
right?
Well,
Some people
directing
may
them
be-
towards the...
But then some people may say that's wrong. you
True,
know,
many
that-
say it's wrong. Let them choose what they want.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but you have selected. But did your father do that for you?
He did. He
Oh,
did.
oh, really? So
What-
what did he
Yeah.
want? Astronaut.
But the thing is, I love being a doctor because I feel doctors is the best profession out there. It teaches
Yeah.
you to become, passionate, to become caring and helping others. This is what I want. Not to become a doctor itself, but the journey to become one, helping others. But once you become a doctor, be whoever you want. Be whatever you want. Like me, I don't do my medicine much anymore. I'm more into research and business and other things. But you can always rely back to medicine if you need to. But being a doctor, the pathway to become a doctor is such an amazing journey to me. That's my personal belief.
And you are into bones.
Orthopedic,
yeah. Which is very important for us.
Yes.
Now, okay, you talk about your parents, you talk about parenting, right? Another element in our lives, all of us, is our teachers.
Yeah.
So how were your teachers like for you, and how did they shape the man that you are today?
Well, I've always been a number one student right from primary school.
Show off.
Yeah, the best student. Because I believe on working hard from a very young age. I need to become the best. I need to compete, right? I don't take things for granted. So I was very close to my teachers. Teachers and students rapport is very, very important because especially in a boarding school, you have no one else. The teachers replace you as a father, mother in that school. So I was very close to the teachers. I was voted, the best honorable student. I won many. But let's not talk about all those.
There's too many.
Yeah, too much. But teachers play a big role
Definitely.
when they are in the boarding school, but not many teachers are good. For example, right? Just like any doctor, not many good doctors. That pros and cons. So it's our job to find which teachers we feel are the best out there, and to get close to her and as a mentor, so that the teacher can guide our kids when they are in boarding school.
Now, you talk about boarding schools, right? And boarding schools are definitely something. I mean, I can't even imagine how's it going to be like when I send my kid to,
You didn't go to
preschool.
boarding school,
I didn't go to
yeah,
boarding
you
school.
didn't, yeah.
No, but even sending them to preschool will be a challenge for me.
It
because,
is.
seeing
It's
my
hard,
daughter
right?
go and
Yeah.
first day, I think
We have to let go of it.
let go.
Yeah, this
yes.
is one of the tough ones.
Yes,
Yeah.
I tell you one incident that made me realize what is being a father like. My daughter at that time, I think she was 1. So evenings I take her to the playground. I get to run around. So she went on this slide, and usually I would be there. And she said, no, she can do it herself.
And you feel,
said,
you
"What the
don't
hell,
need me
man?"
anymore,
Well,
right?
yeah, I mean, But is boarding school the right choice, though?
There's pros and cons against, right?
Yeah, everything has pros and cons,
Because I cannot say this is the right choice, this is not the right choice. But I believe boarding school is a place where they teach you about being independent, right? They do everything on their own. They wash their clothes, they eat their own meals, they wake up by themselves at 5 in the morning. So these are the things which will train them to become someone who's independent once they leave, compared to a child who stays with their mom until Form 5. But then there's also a pro where you can monitor your child fully. I want to share you a tip, for the parents out there. Make sure once if they go to boarding school or once they reach teenagers, right? Make sure you know their friends. I know all my daughter's friends, all of them because we talk a lot, right? And make sure you know their parents too. Get involved with their parents. Call them to the house. Have a small tea together, because it's important you do not want them to be influenced. What you have taught them for all these years, everything can just change just like that.
My goodness.
And it's a very scary thing out there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
who your friends are, who your daughter or children are friends with.
It's like this is just something that came to mind. It's like being the child of, say, Michael Jordan or being the child of Tiger Woods. You're always living under the shadow.
Yeah.
Do your children find it hard living under your shadow? You're Malaysia's first astronaut.
They do. They start feeling it once they are boarding school. I know my daughter, he keep on saying that, Daddy, they know you are an astronaut and things like that. The teacher said, why an astronaut tak pandai, things like that,
Really?
Yeah. But I told them, you must use it as your advantage, right? I mean, there's always say good thing. You must perform. You must show you are the best. You must show them that there's a reason why you're an astronaut's daughter or son. It's okay. The pressure is there, but they need to learn and overcome all those.
There was one clip that I like. It's with this. I have no idea whether you watch football, but there is a team. This guy, his name is Robin van Persie. He's a striker. He used to play for Manchester United, Arsenal, and all that. So he talks about how his son, who was playing in the Arsenal academy, used to complain a lot in the car, saying, my coach doesn't pick me. My coach doesn't select me, and this clip went actually quite viral on TikTok and YouTube. And then he tells his son, he says, look, my role here is to love you regardless.
Yeah.
Right. But right now you're sounding like a loser.
Yeah.
You're not, you're blaming everyone but yourself. And then he said after that talk he had with his son, the next day when they went for training, the son started taking more, sort of responsibility for his performance on the pitch. Do you think those conversations must be had with children where you must be hard on them, you must be brutally honest with them sometimes? Do you think that's right?
I definitely agree with that. Those are good parenting. There are two kinds of parents here. One parent who will do anything for their child, even though their child, contohnya when they kena marah kat sekolah, the teacher marah, right? The parents will be angry and actually feel that you shouldn't, do that to my son. Very protective to your son. So those kind of parents, I think, will be very, very difficult. The child would not turn out successful, I feel. You need to let it go. Let the teachers handle the students. If they are wrong, they need to be punished. They need to be shown the hard way of life from a very young age. We need to produce people who are students or kids to become great leaders out there.
Another concern definitely would be that we have talked about this a lot, online gadgets, online and gadgets and whatnot. But in your advice, which is a problem now, even as a parent, I'm worried now because I think it was reported, one of last month, if I'm not mistaken, in one month, 7 kids went missing. Right? This is a problem for us parents when we go out. I'm always looking at people checking out my family and
safety,
safety,
yeah?
right? How do you monitor your child's online activity?
Well, at the moment, the 11 years old needs to do lots of online classes because studying for her exams. So she already have that ability to be responsible. I trust her, right? I do not monitor her, put her with CCTV. I do not monitor her peeking or being there. I know she's okay. More so for the younger ones that I'm worried about. So for me, no problem because we don't give laptops, we don't give iPads to our kids. When they have online class, one of us will be sitting next to him or them and observe and monitor and so on. But I do agree that it's very hard once you give a gadget to your children.
What age should that be, though? The right age?
As I said, I believe above 11.
11.
Yes,
okay.
Where they know the boundaries and they know the responsibilities. Because once they are addicted, right, Vinod, it's very hard to deprogram them back. Take away an iPad, they will be tantrums. They will be locked themselves in the room. They won't come out. They won't even eat and so on. It's very hard. And I always advise parents out there, keep it from them for at least a week or 2 weeks. Then you can start seeing the changes in them.
Okay.
But it's very hard because most parents feel sad and give them back the gadgets.
Now when I'm an adult, I'm in the working world and all that. For me, when I look back at the education system I went through, right? One mistake I feel that has been done is that there is a clear separation between science and the arts. Of course, now, as you mentioned, rightly mentioned, it's now STEM and STEM, right? But we also do sort of segregate students based on their preference. Science and arts are different. If we look at, examples from the past, many French writers like Voltaire, for example.
They are science, but yet they are arts.
They sort of, in fact, he's an arts guy, but he is the one who sort of suggested that, scientific findings that became now our staple.
Yeah.
Do you think that a child should grow with a good mix of both?
I agree. I think in order to be a successful student, you need to cover an entire field. We should not segregate or separate science and arts. Everything should be taught at one go to a group, and once they finish the SPM, then they can divert themselves.
Now, in Malaysia, and I just want to get into this because the way you are talking about yourself, your parenting skills is that your style is that you're very involved. This is my territory. I'll make sure, right? Which is I think the right way, and I hope to be like that as well. Do you think like things like politics and all that should stay out of education?
They should. They should. It's very hard when we talk about education. It keeps on changing, right? Yeah. We have elections so many times, and our Minister of Education, for example, keeps on changing. And every time a new minister comes in, they change the policy of what has been gone. So they are taking our students like a lab rat. We are testing on them. So they need to stay out of politics, but it's very hard because everything involves politics. They need to come up with a system which works, right? And implement it and don't change it. And stick to it. And when there's a new minister comes in from a different party or so on, they need to stick with it. Do not change it because everything will corrupt. Because you don't see results at once. It takes 5 to 10 years ahead in order to see the result. But what we want are students who are holistic, who can do many things at once, not just focus on one field, but who can talk, who have the charisma, who can do this, who's a sportsman at the same time, who are good with arts. Because once they become someone later on, they can be world-class leaders.
Now, that's a fair point, but just to play devil's advocate again on that point, do you think that children nowadays are suffering as a result of the modern day parents' obsession with grades?
They do, yeah.
They do.
That's the thing. Their mental health, to me, comes first. I always feel that. But then again, as parents, we need to identify mental health, for example, right? Many parents do not know our children are suffering. But all these tantrums, all this appetite change, all this lack of interaction, these are all signs of suffering, signs of depression in a child. The cases keep on rising right now in Malaysia. I'm not sure what's the percentage, but you can see lots of suicides, for example, lots of depressions. It's affecting our society. And I don't blame the parents. They want the best grades, so they push the child. That's why there must be a balance, You must communicate with your child, see how far you are pushing them. When you show the signs of anxiety, for example, take a break, stop them. Maybe come back after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and do that again. You need to interact with them and see how they are. Because at the end, it's the child's happiness and how they do feel.
But, and again, I think this question is sort of the reason why a lot of people don't give too much attention to mental health. Is because they will ask the question, hey, back when I was young,
I didn't have all those.
So why should I do it now?
Exactly, yeah. What changes, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think we as a society, we know more about mental health. We never take that as a main subject before. Now, with all these problems going on, we start to identify all this mental health, so we know it's affecting our children. The parents before might have it, but they never reveal it, or they never show it, or they don't know that it was mental health problems.
Yeah. Now, you belong in the statistics of people who are now shifting more towards Chinese schools. The non-Chinese version of Chinese schools, you belong there. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
And in fact, they have said that a lot of now Malay parents are sending children
Chinese
to school, right?
Yeah.
What are the benefits that you have seen sending your child there?
Oh, Chinese schools? Well, don't get me wrong. I feel that the system in the Chinese schools are higher standards. They learn higher maths syllabus, higher English syllabus.
Really?
Yeah.
English?
Higher maths and science syllabus. These are two main things. But the problem is that the Mandarin is a difficult language. It's not easy for a child to learn those languages, but the best way is to send to a Chinese school. This is what we want. But we start all our kids from a preschool, Chinese kindergarten, so that's easy transition. But many parents who are non-Chinese having problems when their kids are at standard 3, standard 4 in a Chinese school because they couldn't cope with the language, and many took them out. But if you are willing to be patient, keep it there because Chinese schools definitely have better, higher standards in terms of science and math syllabus, in terms of socializing, also less students in their classroom. Like our students ratio is 1:35 students, and their rooms are all aircon. Chinese schools have more funds given by donors.
By the parents and all
Yeah,
that.
right. Things like that. But my kids, other kids are in Malaysia and are sekolah kebangsaan. So I can compare to both of them. Kebangsaan have their good ones too, you know. Their Malay is good, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Compared to in Chinese school. So there are lots of things to think about when you put them in a Chinese school or kebangsaan or even the private schools.
Definitely. Now, of course, one of the things about that's been a big contention in particularly in West Malaysia is the DLP, the dual language program, right?
Language, yeah.
Of course, English is a very important language because it's sort of like the lingua franca of the world. But of course, in Malaysia, it's sort of contested because not knowing, it's sort of politicized, or not knowing Malays, not being patriotic, and all that. What do you think about the DLP?
Very important. I wish the government will introduce back DLP. I think English is a universal language and that everyone needs to be fluent in order to be successful out there. Most of the books like medicine, law, they're all in English. If you are lack in English, you cannot go far in life. But the problem is that when we speak English too much, there's a group of pro bahasa Melayu which condemns us and say, hey, you don't know English, Malay, and so on. So I raised my kids in a dual language, Malay and English. We speak both languages and we try to make them fluent in both. But DLP need to be introduced back. Very, very important.
Very important. Again, that I just want to get into this. Of course, there's been a lot of criticizing of the public school system. I'm a product of public schools, so I'll always defend public schools, okay?
I'm public too, yeah.
We had fun.
Yeah, we had
a
fun,
good time. But you as a parent, I think you have a very interesting point of view now because you have children in Chinese school.
Yeah.
Now, yes, you did mention that there are pros in public school, but what do you think that they can do better?
Once they finish those
No,
schools.
as in these schools, these public schools, what can these schools do better to sort of compete with the Chinese schools, with the private schools and all that?
Well, I think when they're in public schools, it's more of patriotism, semangat nationalism, and being together. But when you see in private schools, right, lots of advantages in private school. That's why they are expensive, right? They have the best teachers. Their ratio is 1:20. They really can spend 1:1. At the moment, if you're asking me in the race, definitely private schools are way ahead. Many more parents are sending their kids to private schools. Then there will be a vernacular school and our sekolah kebangsaan. It's definitely at that rank at the moment. But it depends on what you are looking at. Like for me, I like to send my kids to sekolah kebangsaan because I want them to mix with
Exactly.
that lapisan masyarakat with everyone. So when they come back, they feel that, hey, they don't brag, I'm rich, I'm this, I'm that. Because they learn how to socialize with all these other people. I think this is my main reason why I send them to public schools.
No, and the reason why I'm asking because I'm also sort of in that lingo, like which school do I send my child in? Is it a public school? Also because I'm a public school person, and I want my children to mix with everyone.
Yeah,
true. Because he creates a better person.
Yeah.
Now, on that point, there was a study done recently, right? And I just want to get into this, just touch on this, because of course, when you talk about schools, you talk about feeling this whole nationalistic feeling and all that. Racial issues come into the mix, right? Racial focus, right? Now, you being somebody who's gone to as far as to space, you're mixed with so many different people, different ethnicities, different nationalities. What has that choice of mixing with different people done for you?
It definitely makes you. It changes your perspective on people. It doesn't matter what race you are. My best friends have always been Chinese because they teach me a lot of things. The upbringing are different in different races. I like my kids to be mixing with all Malays, Chinese, and Indians because they have different benefits on every race.
Definitely.
I think we should come to a stage where everyone should mix as a society, but it's hard because the racism is still strong, not on the kids, but more of the parents. So they will decide on what to do with their kids. So these are the things, again, I do not know how to continue talking about this. Yeah.
Fair enough. I will save you.
Yeah, thank you.
No, but, it sounds to me that the answer to all of our problems is parents.
Agree. They decide on the kids.
No,
right?
like because the way you're talking about it, and I think about other examples because I know this guy who is a very elderly man.
Yeah.
He has his own engineering firm, very successful engineering firm, and he used to tell me stories about how every night his father never went to school, but the father will sit after coming back from work with newspaper on the table and all make sure all the kids are doing their homework and studying.
Okay.
The parenting seems to be. Can I say that because most parents now sort of have taken a step back, they have outsourced parenting to schools, nurseries, preschool, and all that, that we are perhaps that's the reason why children are just wanting to be influencers, wanting not to take life seriously.
I agree. I totally agree that you might be right. When you look at the SPM results, for example, right, the best student, right, you see most of the top students, not the rich ones, yeah, anak-anak nelayan, where they pergi ke sekolah agama, sekolah pondok and all this. So when you start to study them, how can this kind of student with lack of facilities but able to top the whole Malaysia, right? At the end, it's the kesedaran, Tavinod. The child has been taught that life is difficult, life is hard. The parents they are not educated, they're just working as a fisherman and so on, but the students want to change their life in the future. So they themselves have the ability to, I'm going to study hard, I'm going to work hard, I'm going to become the best. So they instill themselves. So that is the best advice I could give to the students. If they can have the mindset wanting to change themselves in every possible way, guarantee success, guarantee. But it's hard to instill that. Sometimes we, as parents, we instill. They take 1 year and they bring out 1 year, right? So these are the things that you need to try to find a way to tackle it and instill their own way of being successful.
Interesting, Doctor, you said that again because I have. Please give your thoughts on this. You are the parent of 7. I only I'm a very
We're
new
just
parent.
the same, yeah.
I've always believed, and I've even spoken to my wife about this, and I said that, when we talk about what is their ambition, what should they be and all that, my view on it is this. My goal as a parent is that I want to see my children very passionate, very driven to achieve their goal. If that may be a doctor or a scientist or whatever they want, but they have to be very driven. I want to see that fire in their eyes, right? Do you agree with that?
I agree.
And how do we do that?
It's not easy. It takes a long process. You need to continue instilling them in them. I think the best way is to make them be competitive from a very young age. Go into sports or whatever it is. Because for me, like, for example, I take swimming, right? From a very young age, from the 4, they start swimming and they want to compete. They want to become the best. So sports is one of the best way to instill that passion, that driven, that competitive in the child. There are many others like books, them reading about all these positive books. But parents need to show that, come on, you can do it, you can do it. Things like this that supports them in a daily manner. Slowly it will come to them and they will understand. But they wouldn't understand until they reach, at a certain age, when they are 9 or 10. But if you reach that age where they know they are very competitive, they want to become the best. Even some kids do not know how to take losses, for example. We need to teach them, how do you take losses, right? Yeah. It's okay to lose, but work harder. Never tell your child you're smart. Never tell your child you so pandai, never. Because once they know they're pandai, they won't work hard. Always say, see, you got the best because you work hard. Try to encourage, trying to tell them that they want to work hard. Their success is because of working hard.
I'm talking to you. I'm thinking I'm making so many mistakes. I got to correct my ways.
No, we're not. There's no wrong, right or wrong here, because every child you know what's best for your children, right?
Yeah.
Never listen from others. They don't know. Only you know. Even I cannot give you advice, but you learn from others, right? You listen to others. You learn about parenting, and you see what's your child. But what's important, you need to know your child. You need to have a strong bond. That's the only way that you can guide them together for success.
Now, what is your thoughts on the saying that children don't follow what you say, they follow what you do?
Yeah, they're very observant. Sometimes when you say words, the next day they will come up with the same words, right? And you don't realize that. Yeah. And they are always looking at you, trying to, especially the parents who they idolize, are just looking at you and see what you do, and they will definitely be your copy and paste at the same thing. So very careful on what you do. Like even when you are arguing with your parents, with your wife or spouse, right? Do not do in front of them, because always go into a room and have the argument, because they will see and they will say, my parents are fighting, and it will have a deep impact on them as kids. They're very vulnerable. You always have to be positive. If you do something wrong to your kids, say sorry to them. Yeah, never take things for granted. Oh, this is more, they don't know. They do know. They know a lot of things. They are very intelligent. So come to them, daddy, sorry, daddy shouldn't have done this. Treat them as adults, for example. Right?
Really? Treat them as
Treat them
adults?
as adults. Talk them in a very adaptive way.
Okay. So I'm just curious. So you're saying never fight in front of your kids?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm assuming when it happened to you, you said, pause, let's go to the room.
We'll go.
Fantastic, man. Now, Doctor, I just want to get your thoughts on this in closing. We've had a very fun conversation. I mean, we wanted to talk about education, but it became parenting, and I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would like to take more of your time next time. But what is your advice to upcoming parents or parents who are about to be they're going to welcome you? What's your advice to them on raising their children?
To parents out there, it's not easy to become a parent. Make sure you are knowledgeable. Ilmu tu penting. You need to know ilmu about parenting. The spouse have to come to the same goal. You need to know what you plan with your children. Even how many children do you need? Even though everything has to be planned. And children are very delicate. It's not something that easy to raise them. You need to have lots of patience to raise your children. Always have time for them. They are going to be how you raise them. They are going to be exactly how you are to them. Always love them, because love, to me, as I always say, it conquers everything.
Yeah. Is parenting for everyone?
Well, it's not an easy thing to become a parent, right? It's one of the hardest jobs out there. Most of us do not know what to do. I'll give you an example for parents. The dad especially, the first 6 months when you get a baby, the dad doesn't even involve in the first 6 months because they do not know what to do. So the bonding will be very strong between the mother and the baby. So what the dad needs to do is give her rest, put the baby to sleep, for example, change their diapers, shower them. So these are the small things during that 6 months that you can form a bond.
Yeah.
You ask yourself, when they are kids, does your children want to be with you or to be with the mother? If they say, I want mommy, then you're having a problem. Then then it shows that you do not have a strong bond with your kids, even though they're 2 years, 3 years old. For me, I spent a lot of time when they were kids, when they were babies, that even though when they are 2 years old, the wife can go to work and do everything. They can be with me. I can take care of them. So I think bonding is the key between you and your children.
Okay. Now, of course, we start this thing on education. Of course, education is a big part of parenting. You have your own way, which I'm going to copy.
My way of parenting, yeah.
Which I love. I just want to ask you this one last question. What would you like to see improved in our education system?
Well, I feel that the education system, the politics out there needs to find a solution on the best way for our kids. If you want to change, you have to start from young. We have to look into preschool education. The first kindergarten times when they are 4, 5, 6 years old. We need to have a syllabus for them. We need to monitor the school centers and so on. The syllabus in our schools are getting tougher, really, really tough. I think that's one reason why our kids couldn't cope. If you look at Bahasa Melayu, Darjah 1, Darjah 2, they start doing karangan, pantun and things like that, which I find it very, very difficult even for myself. So the syllabus needs to be studied to find what's best for our kids. Stop changing the policy every time. Introduce back DLP. English is very, very important for our kids. They need to be fluent in English and Malay, both at the same time. And
that's about it. Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much, Dato, for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
I hope you had fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to read your book. Please come up with the
One,
next.
make sure you give our book to me. Okay.
No, it's amazing, man, because I like the way you talk about parenting. I don't think anyone talks about parenting like this. Like, for me as a dad, When I first became a father, I had no idea what to do.
Exactly. Most parents are.
Yeah, I know what to do. But
But
thank
for
you.
me, but like I'm a doctor, right? I think as a doctor, it's much easier. Little bit because we know their milestone and their growth.
Exactly,
It
exactly.
helps.
We
yeah.
don't know. Everything is like a problem.
Then read.
Yes, okay, doctor. Fine. I'll read your book. Thank you so much, Dato, again,
Thank
for
you very
coming on.
much. Thank you.
It's an honor to have you
My
on,
pleasure.
and I hope to have you on again. And I wish you all the best in life. So that's all for you guys today. We really had fun. You guys, any questions on parenting, any comments, any thoughts, please share them in the comment section. We'll be uploading these videos pretty soon. So we'll see you all soon. Stay tuned for the next episode. Take care. Bye.